Okay, hyperspace jump complete.
Home again, jiggity jig.
Is everybody at their stations?
Engineering check.
Science station, check.
Okay, squad, I'm seeing we're not too far from Earth, so I'm going to pull us around for a standard orbiting.
Wait, Norm, don't get too close.
Okay, why? What's wrong?
The sensors are picking up an unbelievable amount of radiation.
Yeah, I'm going to reconfigure the shields to filter out all of that radiation. Just give me 1 minute.
I don't know if I can give you a minute, Lucas, but I could sure give you a parsec.
Lucas, when you're done with that, try reconfiguring the scanning equipment. The radiation is making it impossible to get an accurate reading down there.
Yeah, I'm working on that too. Lucas, most of the radiation it says is uranium-235.
Okay, that helps. Shields reconfigured. We should be good, but uranium-235, isn't that what's used for...
Yeah, nuclear warheads. And I'm actually seeing a lot of them scattered about the surface. Or at least the remnants of them.
What the hell happened while we were gone? I'm going to bring the ship a little closer, and don't worry, I got my eyes on the dials.
It seems like there are massive pockets of irradiated areas across the globe. It's like total nuclear war happened. But also, okay, and this is weird, there's also a lot of retro, like 50s style homes and cars. Plus, I'm getting some weird life form readings. Humans, highly irradiated humans, and some massive humanoid-like creatures. Some of the humans are living underground in these big fallout shelters.
Wait, like vaults?
Now this is all making sense. We must have been pulled into the Fallout universe. You know, the new Prime Video series?
Okay, I'll grab my caps.
I'll grab some Radaway and stim packs.
Whoa, we are not going down there. No way. Let's just monitor it from up here and meet in the conference room in a few hours.
Man, I wanted to scavenge some vintage records. Ugh, fine. I guess we'll just do the show.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Lift off.
This is The Verse, a weekly dive into the cinematic universes and beyond. We'll dissect the latest episodes, films, and news all fans from veterans to noobs are dying to know more about. Now, here's our team of pop culture superheroes we call the Verse Squad.
Welcome to The Verse.
Welcome back to The Verse, the podcast that has a steady supply of Nuka-Cola in the break room. Today, we're discussing Prime Video's newest series, Fallout. But before we do, let's meet the team. I'm Norm.
I'm Lucas.
I'm Emilia, and this is The Verse News, where we bring you the latest in TV, film, pop culture, and superhero news from across the cinematic universes and beyond. So let's see what the squad has come up with this week.
Well, I'm very excited to talk about The Boys Season 4 trailer. Did everybody watch it?
Yes,
Yes.
I did.
Can anybody
got a lot.
besides Emilia name the song that's used in it?
Uh-oh.
Ooh,
I didn't
do
did I
that
do
deep
my
of
homework well enough?
All right, so I might as well tell everybody, and we're gonna have to bleep this, but it's
I remember it
Jarvis
was
Crocker.
familiar.
Jarvis Crocker, the are still running the world, which is such a freaking good deep cut. Like,
Butcher got in there.
Nice.
Not only is that a great song, and Jarvis Crocker also he's from what is it, the band Pulp, who did Common People. You know that song? It's one of their famous one. Anyway, love that guy, love that song. I'll play it for y'all in a little bit, just so you can like remember how cool it is. But yeah, exactly, it's like Butcher's theme song pretty much. So not only do once again they deliver on like a really great trailer, but it just looks like this season is unhinged, and I'm here for it.
Yeah, they packed a lot in there. All of your classics, boys, familiar things, blood, gore, more blood and gore in ways that you couldn't have ever imagined being on TV.
There's like,
look, we all know we're going to be
animals
shocked.
or something. Yeah.
We all know that we're going to be shocked about something that happens probably in the first episode or two, with maybe in the first 10 minutes, because that's like the boys' MO. It's like, let's shock them now and remind them you're watching the boys.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. and lots of political commentary, which I'm quite excited about.
Yes.
It's almost getting too real though, right?
I'm
'Cause we
starting
know
to feel a
it's
little upset.
yeah.
Also, I think we should probably recommend that everyone watch Gen V, because
I saw
there's a
some
big
characters.
thing that's happening that people should probably be aware of. And if you're a fan, we all recommended it when we
Mhm.
watched. So yeah, it's gonna be fun.
Yeah. Is it like spoilery to talk about it, or I mean it's in the trailer.
No,
Like,
I think we could talk about our impressions of the trailer, sure. So, I mean, if you do, so the one thing I wanted to point out, which I kind of mentioned a little bit, was how you saw the flying soup animals, right? That were in it. That was like,
animal
uh,
testing aspect of things.
yeah. So there always is some kind of political, overtones, and especially stuff that has to deal with the real world. But obviously, they're starting to experiment with Gen V, not Gen V, with Compound V on animals, which I find hilarious and disturbing. So I love that aspect of it. You saw that Black Noir was in it, and he died. So what does that mean, right?
He
Probably a
maybe
recast.
died.
A recast, right? Which is like
No, they
so
recast
kind
him.
of
Okay.
funny. No,
They,
I'm
they
sure
found they found a soup that could fill the suit, because you don't know what Black
yeah.
Noir looks like. You just recognize the helmet and the pads. Yeah, no,
So there's got
he's
to be a joke
replaced.
about recasting in there. I don't know. It's just like every time, like they do stuff that's so unexpected, but then also just like so perfect, so pitch perfect. So I'm excited for that.
Yeah, no, this looks good. It looks solid. It reminds me that the universe that universe is not only rife with violence and gore, but it's also going to be rife with, like Emilia said, political commentary. And when we got to speak with Anthony Starr, he especially commented on the political satire part of it,
Hmm.
and to see that that's still going to be a strong memo in this, I'm here for it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Like when they had the one soup on TV who I didn't recognize actually. But she was like, Starlighters were coming for you. I was like, that feels like something that you would absolutely see on Fox News.
Oh
And
yeah.
then at the end with the logo with a little puff of like USA confetti, it's
Yes.
like, ugh, no.
No, this is going to be good. Reminder that the presidential election is happening in this universe.
Yeah.
Same
I don't know if
time
I need a
we're about to
reminder.
have one. I don't
Yeah.
know if I'm completely ready for this now that I think a little deeper.
Well, I just saw Civil War in the theaters, which I
Okay.
really recommend people see, but at the same time, it was like, subtle, like a kick in the nuts. I mean, there was not pulling any punches, but it's one of those things that, similar to The Boys, like there's no half measures in how they portray stuff. And I like that. I think people, and especially nowadays, we can't be subtle about like how bad things are and how like you have to take a stand for what's right. So yeah, I like The Boys. I love what they're doing. I'm glad to see Dewey back. Oh, and they have Butcher. It might turn out Butcher was right all along. I love that they're like suddenly the Soups realize they're, the ones who could be in control, and now it's like we gotta kill them all. Oh my God, that's like so terrifying. Anyway, yeah, it's gonna be. My question though for the group is this the final season? They didn't say anything about it, so I assume
They
not.
have not said anything, and
I assume
I
there's at least one
It
more
could
then.
be.
Okay. You'd
no,
think
I
they
could
would
have.
say the final season
Yeah,
if
I
it
could have
was.
swore that it was up for 5 seasons. This is season 4, correct?
I
Yes,
feel like I
okay,
wouldn't
that
want to
makes
see it
sense.
go past 5 seasons.
I think five's fine. If they end up going five, I feel like they would not overdo their welcome.
Yeah, I think what they're doing right now is strong,
Hmm.
and I would rather see them end on a high note than drag it out and go into obscurity.
Yeah, same. Okay. Well, what's our next news?
So, a bunch of casting news on the Fantastic Four front. We already knew that Pedro Pascal, Vanessa Kirby, Joseph Quinn, and Eben Moss Backrack
Hmm.
were cast to be the actual Fantastic Four, but we got even more news over the last few weeks. Julia Gardner will be playing the Silver Surfer, and in this universe, which we know is going to be an alternate universe, is Shala Ball, which in the regular Marvel Comics universe is Silver Surfer's wife.
Oh, I wasn't aware of that. Okay.
Yeah. Noran Ball's wife. Noran?
Because I thought they just did a gender swap, and I was like, I'm totally here for it. Silver
Yeah, I
Surfer,
was
as
wondering.
much as I think is a cool character, but it's like I don't really care about the character. It's just a cool design and idea of like surfing through the universe on a surfboard seemed awesome to me as a kid.
For me, just 100% being honest here, the Silver Surfer comic books were never a draw for me. The best Silver Surfer comic books that he was in were the Infinity series of
Yeah.
like the arcs of the
Yeah.
comics where he plays a major role, but he doesn't like
Isn't he like the
uh
Harbinger? He like shows up and scouts planets to
yeah, pretty much.
okay, I don't want to do
For
too many
Galactus,
spoilers.
but then he breaks
for
away from
Galactus.
Galactus and he does his own thing, and
Yeah, I
it
remember
is what it
those.
is.
Anyway. No, I mean it's like,
Um,
I never thought it was that compelling of a character. Interesting. I mean, I just like the design. I was actually more interested in the like the cool art of it than I was for actually the character.
No, like the idea of the character to me was awesome. You have this like cosmic being that literally surfed on
You're
a
surfing through
silver.
the universe, bro.
Yeah, like come on, man,
Yeah.
that's kind of rad.
No, that's what I mean. Like that's what was interesting, but I didn't really care about the storylines as much, but still.
No, the storylines were never, at least for me, they weren't a
Yeah.
draw. But with that being said, we also know that Ralph Ineson is going to be playing Galactus.
Yeah, so we are getting Galactus though, which is huge. I mean, that's to me is like now it's starting to take shape what is going to happen in this. And that means that the scale is the universe. It's not just like things happening
Yeah.
on Earth. So, fascinating. I'm curious to see where they go with it.
And I assume that Marvel has learned their lesson from the second Fantastic Four movie that had Chris Evans and company in it, that
Mhm.
they're not going to make Galactus like a cloud of gas or whatever. They're going to actually make him a
Comic
giant
appropriate.
human, which would be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was wondering about this as like my knowledge of the Fantastic Four is from those Fantastic Four movies. And like
I'm sorry.
no, I love them. And
I'm also sorry.
like Lego Marvel, I think.
Okay.
Cool.
Well, Lego Marvel was actually closer to how Galactus
Yeah.
looks. A lot
More-
closer.
Yeah.
Well, I
yeah.
thought it was if I remember correctly, Galactus is like the planet eater.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, okay. And does Galactus often co-occur with the Silver Surfer? Because I remember
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Silver Surfer works for him.
Yeah. In the beginning, the
Harbinger.
Silver
Okay, yeah.
Surfer's his herald.
Yeah.
Right.
There you go. Harold. I said Harbinger.
Yeah, and he would go. Well, I mean, he's still a harbinger. I mean, if he shows up, Galactus is right behind him. So
He's like the crotchety old guy at the gas station when the kids are going to the cabin in the woods.
Wait, so
yes,
Galactus in Lego Marvel, as I recall, was just like a giant Lego head.
yes. I mean,
he's
he's
got a
a
body, but-
giant being. It's just that in that it was a head.
Oh my God. I remember that was I don't think he was just a head actually. But I remember the big head because that's
Yes.
like all you could see of
Yeah.
him when you were
It's
fighting
been
him.
a while since I've seen or played the Marvel Lego games or that one Marvel Loki thing.
But can we?
there's
So wait, I have a question though, not to derail where we're headed. But so John Malkovich, it hasn't been said who he is. He's been cast, but we don't know who he's playing.
correct.
Okay, I saw some
So-
people but I guess they were just guessing.
So we have two other casting announcements that weren't given a particular role identification yet, and that is John Malkovich and Paul Walter Hauser.
Who's Paul Walter Hauser again? I didn't look this up.
If you watched what was the Tanya Hart, I Tanya?
Oh yeah.
He was the security guard.
Oh, I
friend.
love him. Okay, he's
He
funny.
is
Yeah.
absolutely
Oh.
Snake. No, that's not Snake. Something from Cobra Kai as well. I can't remember.
Yeah. No, I know him well. that actor.
Stingray.
Yeah, yeah.
Stingray.
He
Yeah.
plays a good doofus very well.
He does.
Yeah.
So those two are confirmed to be in it, but they
Okay.
have not said who. And they haven't announced who Doc Doom is yet, and we know Doc Doom's going to be in this.
Okay, but I think that he's already cast. They're just keeping it super under wraps, I believe. That's my conspiracy theory, is that they're waiting to do like a big announcement because they know everybody's going to freak out about it.
Yeah, it it can't be John Malkovich. No offense to John
No.
Malkovich, he could
No,
do
but-
anything he wants, but he's a little too old for that now, and I don't think
Yeah.
Marvel wants to roll the dice on that.
Yeah. I mean, the
I
whole
swear-
cast so far that's been announced is really, it's pretty stacked.
Solid. Yeah.
This is what Marvel does, though. They get a great cast, like, and it might not be the person you expect, but it's usually you're like, man, you're right. That was a good idea. Like, they're almost like batting 100% at this point.
Yeah, when they announced John Malkovich, my brain just went into overload. I'm like, there's so many people he can play, yet at the same time, there's not a ton of people he can play.
Yeah, yeah.
I feel like it might end up being a smaller role. Just
Probably.
like they might want to conserve the star power a bit.
I think it's gonna be a one-off role. I think
Yeah.
it's gonna be something big that ends tragically, probably.
No doubt it. But
Just
looks
my
good
thought.
though, right? Like all the casting stuff looks cool.
Yeah.
And the announcements are for characters that really get me thinking. Like, oh, okay, they're doing something ambitious with the story. And now I'm just getting me more excited to see this, which I already kind of was getting a little into it. The one thing I'm really hoping for, we haven't heard yet, is it going to take place in the 1960s? Part of me really wants it to, but I have a feeling they're just not going to do that.
And we're just on casting announcements, right? So like
Yeah, nothing. else.
a premiere date is going to be a ways off, I imagine.
Yeah, I mean the exact date. I do think they're looking for a 2026 release. I think, or is it 2020?
okay.
No, I think it's next year.
I think it's next year,
Next year. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
2025. Yeah.
No, 2025.
I don't know how long it takes to make movies, but that's cool.
It used to be 3 months you shoot, like max shooting, usually 1 month shooting, and then like, edit for 3 to 6 months and then release. But that's like not with the VFX these days. That's not how
I
movies
thought
are
it took
made.
way
Now it's like a
longer.
year.
Well,
Yeah. Oh,
well now
modern movies. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Now instead of having one VFX company though, you're gonna have like 4 or 5 on there.
I want to
Yeah.
point out, so Roger Corman just passed, who's like a hero of mine. And I would love to do an entire episode just devoted to the insane films he made, but then also like he created and the people he hired on to make his like little indie films went on to like rule Hollywood. Like he pretty much was the pipeline for filmmaking. Like gave everybody their first chance. So but his movies are like he would shoot them in like a week. Like that was because they were low, so he made money.
Yeah.
He would shoot them in like 1 week or like 2 weeks to do like an entire like 90-minute film. Just shows you like the difference between low budget indie and like where we are now these days,
Yeah.
and kind of why the industry is so kind of like upside down at this point, is because they make movies for 300 million, they take 2 years to shoot them, and then they only make 100 million at the box office, and they're considered failures. It's just so weird.
So funny to say only 100 million.
Right? No, I mean, like that's
No,
crazy, right?
It's absolutely
Hollywood's
insane.
been turned upside down. I mean, it's just, I think this is unsustainable personally, but anyway. Okay. But anything else we want to say about the Fantastic Four movie casting?
I'm
Just
excited to
looking
see what
forward
happens.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's a universal. We're all kind of digging it. So cool.
All right. Then that was the Verse news. So why don't we dive into Prime Video's Fallout series? This is fun. I was excited about this when it was first announced. I remember. I think we talked about it maybe on this show.
First off, I think we were all shocked by it because I don't think anybody heard anything, any whispers even about it. And then all of a sudden it was like, by the way, this is happening. And we're like, what?
This was
Yeah.
so weird. Can we talk before we dive into it? Can we just talk about that? How like it got almost no marketing or promotion, yet now it's like one of the biggest hits. And it's
I
still
think
like number one.
I think it's the largest or the fastest to hit that particular milestone that Amazon Prime is or Prime Video is looking at.
Yeah.
I think it was the fastest series to hit that like million view mark
And it's been on
stream.
number one for like a month straight, and it's not going down. I've watched it twice. I made my wife
Yeah.
watch it with, similar to The Boys, by the way, where like I was so blown away by it. I was like, you got to watch the show. So like, it's pretty impressive.
That was the campaign, actually. They were
Yeah.
like, the people who want to see it will watch it and then they'll spread the word.
But it shows you like
And it-
marketing can make or break your product or not, right? Like it's suddenly word of mouth, like is what, right? Isn't that like so crazy that, sometimes word of mouth is all it takes. Is you just got to get enough people to watch it and
Oh no,
proselytize, right?
So that's certainly
word of
what I
mouth
did.
is the
I was
best.
telling my friends, I was like, yo, I know you didn't play this game, but
Yeah. But that's
Oh,
what I would hear all the time. Like, oh, I've never played it. Will I still enjoy the show? I'm like, hands down. In fact, you might
there's
even
not a
enjoy it
question.
more. I don't know. Yeah.
I don't think you'd enjoy it more. Everyone I know
Yeah, you're
who
right.
has seen it and who has played the video games, and people who have seen it and not played the video games, the people who've played the video games, and we'll talk about this coming up, enjoy it a lot because it opened up some more of the backstory that was only
Mm.
like rumors that are now confirmed. So
Yeah, that's it.
fun stuff.
Sorry, that is cool. You're right. We will get into the nuts and bolts of that
Yeah.
because there's a lot of cool stuff they reveal. Here's the question though. So we all play the video games, obviously, right?
Yes.
you'll have played at least some. Yeah.
Where did you start?
So okay, so I feel like I might have the least Fallout experience actually. But I played Fallout 3 back in college and I loved it. It was great. It was like one of my favorite games for a while. I just thought it was like firing on all cylinders. It made me like a real Bethesda stan. And then I think I watched some gameplay of like my friends, like they got New Vegas, they got Fallout 4. And then I kind of like lost track of the rest of the series after that. I heard about like Fallout 76, and I am definitely like invested in playing New Vegas now that season 1 of this is dropped, and there's going to be a season 2. Um, so that was me. Like I only played one game, but I played it quite deeply.
I
What about you, Norm?
remember playing Fallout 2 on my friend's computer, and I can't remember when, and being like, "Oh, this is interesting," but I never had the time to actually get it for myself. So my real introduction was Fallout 3. Then I played New Vegas, then 4. I was gonna get 76, but a bunch of my friends were like, "Hold off, it's not quite there yet." And
Mhm.
now apparently it is. Apparently it's pretty solid. At least that's what some people have said. So I might give it a chance. I would love to hear from other people if I should or not. But yeah, I've played all of, 3, New Vegas, and 4.
So I have all you beat. After college, I had a PC. I was living at my parents' house before moving into New York City, like in the transition between college and living on my own and having my own career. So I had like a couple months before I was like looking for jobs and going into the city constantly to get work. So I had a PC at home and I was just looking for games to play, and I found Fallout 1 and 2. So like I played through, I think I beat the first one or something and then got like halfway through the second one, but I was like obsessed with it because it had the turn-based. So back before it was
Yeah.
first-person shooter, it was like you'd follow your third-person character around and do turn-place action, fights, fighting. And I love
Mhm.
that part of it. It was like Dungeons and Dragons where you literally would like essentially be rolling the dice and like
Yeah.
every time to see if you hit or and it was super violent and weird, and it like I was a huge fan of dystopian, post-apocalyptic stuff. Loved The Boy and His Dog. Loved Mad Max. So for me, this was like one of my favorite games on PC. And when they came out with it, Fallout 3, I was super skeptical because I was like, dude, they took away the things that I loved about it. Like they got rid of the turn-based, they got rid of, and then all I had to do was like sit down and play it for like an hour. And I was like, oh my God, this game is so awesome because it like took all the things that worked great in that third person and they fit it into the first person shooter like somehow where you could literally
Yeah.
if you actually play the gameplay, there is like if you do the zoom in and shoot the guy, like it gives you the
Yeah,
the
did they have the
percentages if you can
VATS
hit.
thing
Yeah,
and system in 1 and 2 too?
all that. Yeah, but it was
Nice.
so all that stuff was like think about Dungeons and Dragons. You build your character, you give yourself like uh
Stats.
stats like speech or what is it constitution or so like that was the thing like as a Dungeons and Dragons player it not only did it work, and then when they transitioned to first person shooter I was like super impressed, and you can see now like playing Fallout 4 and New Vegas, like I feel like they just kept improving upon it. That's why I never played 76 either, because I
Oh,
heard they changed it for 76. I don't know because I never played it, and everybody's like, "Oh, don't bother playing it." Now I'm kicking myself like you, Norm, where I'm like, "Why did I listen to everybody?
well,
I should have just
everyone
played
said
it."
everyone just said it was really glitchy and buggy, and that to give it some time. And
Yeah.
now that I have, I'm thinking about picking it up. I just need to find the
Oh,
time.
I'm dying
But
to now at this point. Yeah.
Do you know the thing that like actually really got me into Fallout was the fact that there was consequences for the things you did, and that was
Oh
new
God,
for a
yeah.
video game.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah,
oh
you'd
wow, wait a
you
minute.
destroy a town. Like you do one mistake in a town, then you'd have to like destroy the town and murder everybody. There's no go back from it, man. Like
That was
No,
like a
and it
huge deal back in the day because that
Yeah.
was now it's everywhere in video games.
yeah,
But
Yeah.
yeah.
but back when I remember first playing, I was like, like it's always been a little glitchy, always a little buggy, depending on what you're doing, when you're doing, how fast you're doing it. But the one thing that I loved was this. Why is all of a sudden everyone mad at me? Oh wait, is there a reward and a punishment system in this game? You got to be kidding me!
Yeah.
That is amazing. I
Yeah.
You know, like
played
this person
game.
that witnessed me blow this guy's like brains out just seems a little scared of me. What's going on with that?
Exactly. It's like wait, how did he know? Oh my, that's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, truly, I think these games are so unique. And the tone, the attitude was so funny and weird. Like it had such a good sick sense of humor. Um, so I think that's a perfect transition to the show. So as we said,
Yes.
like I knew it was. I guess we only knew it was coming out from like a couple of trailers that premiered just like a few weeks before. Like there's no real
Yeah.
lead up, and then all of a sudden, I remember sitting down to watch it. And definitely binge like the first 3 episodes, like back to back to back, and then was pretty much hooked. I had to like consume it so quickly because I was just like needed to know the story.
Yeah.
So are we doing like a spoiler, not spoiler section or
Um, it's been out long enough. Let's just spoil
Nope.
away. Let's spoil away.
Yep.
okay,
So
cool.
yeah. So can I say one of the things why this show works so well is they have 3 leads and they're all 3 different characters you would build and different ways to approach the game. You approach it
Yeah.
as the nice, innocent person who's
Mm.
trying to do good. You can be the guy who's trying to be heroic and like a knight, right, and do good things, but you still mess up and do some bad things. Or you can be the villain, which is the ghoul character. So like the fact
Not
that
so
they
much
have,
a villain, but
yeah, but like
at least
Morally
chaotic
dubious.
evil
chaotic evil, yeah. Or no,
Yeah.
yeah, he's not really lawful at all. Anyway,
No.
so like you get 3 different approaches to how you would construct a character and play the game. That's like freaking genius, and it just makes
Yeah.
good for storytelling in a TV show. But for lovers of the game, again, like, and I'm gonna go back to this every time. The decisions they made in the storytelling constantly reinforce why you love this game. It's like it was just really clever.
It's
But I do
interesting
love these 3 leads.
that you structured that way because I remember I dropped a comment in the Discord where I was like, which you should join, audience members, if you haven't yet. But it was like, oh, Titus or Maximus is hilarious because he acts like he is a player character who's been dropped into the world who hasn't like fully been paying attention to all of the quest texts. And he's just like, I'm
And
here, I'm trying.
and until you said that, I gotta tell you, that character was the most boring for me. And then you said that, and I'm like, wait a minute.
He
Oh
won me
crap.
over
She's
about
right.
halfway through.
She's
Yeah, I was
right.
on the fence.
And it's
I
not
was
such a
on
bad character.
I was on the fence about his character. I love that actor, by the way. Like by the end, I saw what that actor was doing. He just approaches it with such similar to Ella Purnell, who plays Lucy, this like complete innocence, right? Granted, he is a lot more weathered, but there's just a naivety to him. Like he's lived a hard life, but he's still so incredibly naive because of his world is so sheltered that it's
Mhm.
like, I just really appreciate the comedic like timing that guy brought, that actor who is, let's get his name right. Sorry, where is he? How is he not top billing here? Hold on.
Aaron Clifton Moten.
This is so annoying. Oh, Aaron Moten. There he is. You're right. He is top billing. He's on the right-hand side. Yeah, he's played Maximus. I mean, that guy is a good comedic actor because it's like you can tell he's playing it, with drama, but like there's so many times like it's the scene is carried by his like complete cluelessness to what's happening. By the way, so does anybody recognize Ella Purnell, who's
Yes.
Lucy McLean? It took me a while to realize what I remembered her from.
What
I
do you
wasn't sure
remember
what
her
I knew her from. There was like stuff that she's been in that I like came close to seeing but didn't. So
So the one that I know her, what is it? That I recognize her for was Yellow Jackets.
Yeah.
Mm.
So I don't think y'all watch Yellow Jackets like me. But
The Mysterious Pruse made me watch an episode once, and she
so
was in it. So
she plays the
Mysterious
most
Priest, I feel like, has-
frustrating. She's the most frustrating character in that show. They're like lost in the woods when their plane crashes, and she's freaking useless. She's like cannot. She's and I don't want to do any spoilers, but I was like, oh my god, it's that character. Like I hated her in that show because she's supposed to play this kind of like pathetic character, and she's so lovable in this that's why it took me a while. She has the same like doe-eyed, like innocent thing, but like in that show, she's frustrating as hell because of it, because their survival depends on like so it's like almost the same type of character, but I thought she was so charming and so wonderful in this role.
And you
where
see
she
her
just, like-
growing too, and like figuring stuff out, like you would
Yeah.
in the game. But also just like it's nice to know that she's not doing a shtick. Like this is just
Yeah.
who she is to her core, but it doesn't mean that she can't be corrupted, or not the opposite of corrupted, but just like, rising above whatever you want to call the wasteland. And so it was nice to be able to see
Okie
that
dokie.
change.
Yeah. I love like her attitude of like okie dokie, like this idea that
From first
it's
episode to last episode.
yeah, it's like horrible things happen, and she's like, okay, I can be better than this, right? Like there's just like a striving hopefulness to her that is so compelling that I like wish I had that strength. to,
Wait,
like,
hold up. She voiced Jinx in Arcane.
Yes, in Arcane. I was going to bring that up.
Okay, that's what okay, that's cool.
That's totally cool, right? So Arcane, which we talked about on the show, is fabulous, and they're making a season 2, by the way, of Arcane. But yeah, so she'll be back for that one. So yeah, Ella Purnell, man, I'm like definitely a rising star to keep your eye on.
you know, both those actors and their characters are pretty good. Again, Emily, I bring up the fact that until you said that in our Discord, I was like, I could do it with less Maximus. I really don't care. And then I'm like, oh, wait a minute, she's right. And now that
When
I
he's
think
eating
about
when
it,
he's eating the popcorn, when they're in the
Oh,
vault, and
it's-
he's like,
That was the best.
no, the best is when he gets back in his power armor and starts going crazy, and he's like, oh, my bad. And it's like, oh, come on, that was great. But I'm sorry, Walt Goggins. It
I
just
know, I was holding him
has
for
me.
last. I was
He
holding him
has
for
me.
last.
His storyline is absolutely gold and completely has me locked in.
Dude, and he plays the spaghetti western. That's why I said like villain, because he plays it like, if you ever watch Justified, I mean, he is phenomenal in that show. And it's like he almost outdoes that character in this, because he's just playing this this cold-hearted, vicious gunslinger. But he's like, granted, at the same time, you can tell there's a moral compass somewhat to what he's doing. He's just so hard, and I mean, there's so many scenes that are directly lifted out of a spaghetti western. There's one where he kills the guy, or the son
He
of,
literally
I don't know, spoilers.
played one, like his character.
Yeah.
Was, yeah.
Yeah, which I love,
Well,
that
his-
kind of what's it called? Well, the funny thing is he wanted to play like the good guy western, white hat wearing westerns. The whole, if you like know in film history, there was like the transition between, the good guy westerns, then like the spaghetti westerns, which were much dirtier, and like
Yeah,
Sergio Leone
so
thing.
going from the John Wayne to the Clint Eastwood
Thank you.
ones.
Yes, exactly. So he straddled that in the Fallout world,
Universe,
and then he actually
yeah.
is living it in the real Fallout universe, which was kind of a cool touch.
But
Yeah.
my God, so this is where I bring up the games to people. I'm like, it doesn't matter if you got in on Fallout 3, Fallout 4, or if you got in on New Vegas, because Fallout 3 and 4 is covered by Maximus and Lucy,
Mhm.
but New Vegas is covered by the Ghoul.
Walton. Yeah. I mean, New Vegas is my favorite one, hands down. Like, and you're right. That's probably why. But the whole Elvis thing. I mean, there's just so much. There's so many cool little storylines in New Vegas, which you're gonna fall in love with, Emilia.
Mm.
But you're right. I didn't even think of it that way, Norm. Like, they kind of capture all the best storylines
I think they did.
wrapped up into the series
Yeah.
as well,
And
without
there's
having to
obviously gonna
redo
be
them.
more Vegas coming up.
Next, yeah, that's season 2, from what I've heard.
I mean, that is what we saw in the distance right at the end.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
I want to give out some shout outs to some other characters that popped up. One being Johnny Pemberton. So did anybody watch Superstore here?
Yes, a little bit.
So he-
Not the whole thing. Yeah.
So that guy always cracked me up in Superstore. Pew, 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 pew. He was just such a dork, like such a gangster
he's that-
dork.
Yeah, he's the Malibu's Most Wanted type.
Yeah, exactly.
White guy.
Yeah, so he was Thaddeus, and he just was cracking me up in every scene he was in. But also like those emotional moments with Maximus, which I think was like some of the best scenes that Maximus had were with that character, where he was like, "Tell me something good about him," and like was picking on him, like, "Climb higher." It was just fun to see like the tables
I don't
turn.
think there's any
Um,
apples up here.
Yeah, exactly. There's such good humor, but then we also got Matt Berry, who's like in
Yes.
everything, but he's like
As
perfectly cast.
Cogsworth.
Yeah, I mean, you couldn't cast that better.
That voice
Um,
was unmistakable.
Oh
Because
yeah.
I remember like seeing him, I think, in a preview or something, and I was like, I wonder when he's gonna show up. And then I like heard him in the robot, and I was like, wait a second.
Yeah, but then
Can't
you
get
get him
past
in
him.
real life. They show him in the universe there. It was just like, and then also one last addition, Zach Cherry, who plays, he was in, he's in so much stuff now. He was one of the shelter guy, or sorry, the vault guys, but he was in, what's that Apple TV, sci-fi one with, the Parks and Rec dude.
Oh,
I'll just click it.
Severance?
Severance. So he was in Severance. So this actor's in like everything now, and he just always plays these like silly, goofy characters. But I just love seeing him pop up. He's like one of those character actors that, you just love to see him. So like this, I mean, I can go on and on. Actually, there's like a list of everybody, of this cast that's just really like expert casting for sure.
Yeah. Shout out to my boy, fellow Norm, down in the vault.
Dude, rock star. He said he was a coward, and he was not.
He wasn't. No,
Wait, which
he
one?
went out on a limb there. Norm, Lucy's brother.
The brother
Oh,
who she like
right.
hides in the first episode because he's scared, and then he ends up like cracking the secret of the vault.
Yeah, I really like him, but I'm assuming he's gonna have a lot more to do season 2.
I hope so.
We'll see. I mean, when we leave him, he's stuck with a choice in Vault 31.
31.
Yeah.
You want to get things done? Vote 31 or something like
Yeah.
that. Well, so the funny part is my wife watching the series with me was like, I just want to watch that show. She's like, I want to watch Norm and the big tall guy solve mysteries in the vault. She's like, I would just tune in for that show.
Well,
And I was like, oh, I can't really disagree. It's kind of an awesome storyline.
that was one of the big things that I loved about the video games was when you're down going into each different vault and you're finding out that each vault had an experiment basically run on them.
Yeah, that's creepy, dude.
Everyone remembers the Gary vault if you played Fallout 3,
Mhm.
or is that 4?
I think it was 3.
Gary. Gary. No?
Oh God, do I remember this?
I think that's 3.
Ooh, I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
it was 3. Pretty sure it was 3. I can't remember the vault number off the top of my head.
Because
but
4,
it
I
was-
didn't. I only played like half of it.
It was the Attack of the Clones vault, basically.
Pretty sure it was 3. Anyway, lots of creepiness though. I mean, going through vaults was always scary.
Yeah, 'cause you never knew what
Weird stuff was gonna
each
happen.
vault was gonna do because it was just crazy.
Oh, it was Fallout 3. Maybe I missed this one.
Ooh,
You probably
that
just
was
forgot it.
that was a creepy but fun vault.
Mhm.
Definitely recommend.
The vault I
Um,
remember the most is the Twilight Zone episode with the kid who like is in charge of everything. Because like whatever he
Yes.
says becomes true or something like that.
You're talking because it's the simulation one, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think so. Yeah, that one was messed up.
it was there, and that was to me was one of the big interesting parts. I mean, we all knew if you played the video games, you knew that was every vault had a little quirky test on it.
Mhm.
But to see them how they sold that,
Yeah, like that was actually why the vaults were built, was like to be able to run tests on people. You're like, oh, okay. They never really, yeah. It all just felt like the vaults are in their own weirdness, doing their own weird things. But now to realize like that was the point of them was kind of messed up.
yeah, it was almost like some of them you kind of figured when you play them all, you're like, oh, some of these were designed to be different, but a bunch of them you're like, oh, I think the overseer was just a complete jackass and just
Yeah.
wanted to do whatever he thought and just did an experiment. But this, you're like, no, this was pre-made.
Yeah.
And then, the big revelation that you don't get in the video games is that the nuclear war that happens did not happen because of an actual war but that because Vault
They
Tech
wanted
was
market
like,
share.
we're dropping these bombs because we want, the market.
By the way, that first the opening episode, the first episode with the thumbs up, where you
Oh
put your
God.
thumb up to see if the mushroom cloud is as big as your thumb, bigger than thumb, you're done. But if your thumb is bigger, you just run for the hills.
Run.
Just so good, like just so
Yeah.
good,
Yeah.
just like heartbreaking. And that was just the perfect introduction of Walton Goggins' character, because like I said, he becomes like in some ways, you're right, not the villain, but he's like, pretty chaotic, evil guy. So to start there with him almost made his whole storyline more compelling, because you knew
Yes.
you're like, we're rooting for him, and then you're like, wait, he's kind of like a jerk now, but he's like, granted they pull him out of the grave in that scene. I mean, it's just really well done. I do want to point out one of the reasons why this show is so good, though. So the producer on it, um, Graham Wagner, is known for Portlandia, which I'm a huge fan of, a guy who lived in Portland for years, Silicon Valley, and The Office. Producer on both of those. So like that humor that they were able to like infuse into the show, he definitely had a hand in that, we can say.
Mhm. Makes
And
sense.
then the other one, who's the other producer on it?
There's an exec producer who's like co-creator of Fallout, I think, Jonathan Nolan,
That sounds right.
which that feels like it tracks too.
Well, one of the other producers, who is Geneva Robertson
And Lisa
Dorrit.
Joy, who's also involved in Westworld as an EP.
Westworld,
Sorry.
exactly. Yeah, Westworld, which first season was wonderful. We talked about it, but and then the other one I was saying was Geneva Robertson Dorrit, who's producer on Captain Marvel and Tomb Raider.
Yeah.
So it's like
some-
they got some heavy hitters
Yeah.
for this, and it paid off for sure.
You brought up Portlandia, and I suddenly got triggered by the Fred Armisen scene.
Yeah,
I
he's
was
talking
jump
about,
scared
you
by
can't-
Fred Armisen.
you can't get this kind of fidelity from the modern stuff. Like it's
the
completely
mids.
the original.
Yeah, the
It's
mids
like-
right there.
That was
And I'm
such a
like-
Fred
I'm like-
Armisen character.
I was like, oh my god, this is Portlandia, and
Mhm.
100%. And I hate these people. I work in music, and every time I hear someone say this, I'm like, you can't hear that.
The
And I wanna-
The best was-
fidelity.
Oh yeah, the mids
I
on
wanna
it.
hit
Well,
you.
the mids are in it. The mids are in it.
That's all it was mids.
They're just like
Anyway, yeah.
listening to the, what was it, fiddles?
Yeah.
Fiddles on
awful
like
fiddles.
records that
There-
died long ago.
There was no low end. You're lucky if there was a little bit of high. There was probably a little bit of high end, but it was like that 2K
But I love
range
that he had
where
the-
it's like,
All I could
Yeah, the
hear was dust.
traps. But he had the traps for the critics. It was awesome.
dude,
but
I think
so
you're a
what-
ghoul.
which was great, because if you remember back, like the second episode, whatever, he's like, we got to track this ghoul. We should just kill them all, murder them all. So the idea, they showed you that the Brotherhood will not tolerate ghouls, and then he
Mhm.
becomes one, and he has to run. That was just like a
Of
cool,
course.
like they foreshadowed that earlier.
Yeah,
But,
shout out to the quack doctor who was
Oh,
definitely not doing
John
anything
Daly.
weird to those
John
chickens.
Daly, yeah.
So do you know
Yeah.
John Daly from the Kroll Show, whatever? He's so freaking
Yeah.
funny in that show.
But
Anyway.
my god, the call outs to the video games, that character is 100% one of those like chaotic characters you run into. You're like, I think I should kill this guy, but at the
Yeah, I
same
usually
time, I
just
think
shoot
you
him
might
in the
help
back.
me. No, you should shoot him. Also, the ragdoll physics that you actually get in this as well, hilarious.
Yeah. I was like, the VAT system is real in here. Like I'm seeing it.
Mhm.
I'm seeing all of
but
the
without
limbs
seeing the actual.
exploding. Yeah.
Yeah. So one of my favorite scenes of the whole, there's many, but one of the ones that pops out is when they're on the bridge and they have to do the hands up, and then of course Lucy's trying to use her power of speech to like
Mhm.
resolve the situation, and then they have to get into like the shootout that happens like super fast. That totally felt like the VAT system happening like right there as well.
Yeah.
Anyway, like so many of those little instances though, where it's like you can tell it was just, if you're a fan of the game, you're gonna love it, but you don't need to know the game to enjoy it.
Yeah.
No.
It was very Fallout 3 feeling, and I know I can only really speak on that one, but like arriving in Philly, which I think is named after like, because it's like on a landfill, Philly,
Mhm.
not Philadelphia.
Yeah,
Not
Philadelphia.
No.
I got a little confused by that for a second because at the end it was New Vegas, and I was like, how did he get across the country? But no,
Yeah.
but showing up in Philly, I was like, this is Megaton. This looks
Mhm.
just like Megaton minus the giant bomb in the middle. It's the aesthetic. It's like everything being put together with the scrap metal, like,
Yeah.
and the missing father.
Okay,
with
so
the
I'm gonna I'm gonna
mysterious.
I'm gonna disagree with you on that because they're kind of in a baseball stadium, which makes me think of Diamond City in Fallout 4. Because you
Could
see
be
them
both.
go into the stadium and then down into everything, and that's 100% Fallout 4. But I get what you mean. It did feel a little bit like Megaton. The only thing missing would have been the giant unexploded nuclear
Bomb.
warhead in the
Yeah,
middle
exactly.
Yeah.
that people are
I was,
praying to.
I was
What I
remembering
love.
the like the shopkeepers and stuff too, and like the little they're like selling you like iguanas on sticks, and
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
was like, we're only missing that like one really chirpy shopkeeper that like you do missions for,
Right. But
and
technically,
they're
you have
cool.
that because that's what ends up happening.
Yeah.
Well, that's what's great about this show, though, is that it isn't any of those, but it's part of that world. Like they didn't try to retread anything,
No,
but
they
Yeah.
it felt totally baked into, like it could have just been another episode. So that brings me to my gripes with this series. Are you ready?
yeah.
I have
Oh
some
wait, first I'd like to
complaints.
shout out Kyle
Sure.
MacLachlan as
Oh
Hank
yes, I
McLean
can't believe
because I just love him.
I know. I can't believe I didn't give him a shout out right at first because it was awesome seeing him.
Like obviously, he's done so much obviously from Twin Peaks, but sometimes I remember him most fondly as Mr. Mayor from Portlandia.
Mr. Man from Portlandia. I mean, that's like one of the best. I'd vote for him.
Hmm.
But
Same.
he's great at comedy, dude. That's the thing. Like, such a good dramatic actor who's like consistently funny as hell. Like, Portlandia cemented that for me. Mr. Mayor.
Oh, and also
Okay.
shout out to Celia Mendez Jones, who has a very small role actually, but as Maximus's friend.
Hmm.
I just thought that it was like a cool role, and I hope that they get more like
I couldn't I couldn't
screen time
believe
later on.
the story switch though, where I was like trying to do the conspiracy of who crushed their foot, whatever, or
Yeah.
sabotaged the boot, and
Yeah.
I was like, oh duh. Like they did it to themselves. I was like, oh,
And
all
then I was
right, that
like
was
trying to
cool.
Google this actor because I was like, oh, like have I seen this actor in other things? And I'd like to shout out a call out rather the immense amount of transphobia that I saw like immediately right off the
What?
bat. There was like,
Really?
Welcome to the internet.
yeah, I don't know. It was an online thing to do. I guess I shouldn't have Googled this person, but
Yeah. That was your first
um,
mistake.
but yeah, so those people, you suck, and we would like you to leave the internet and
Just
stop
let
watching
it
the show.
go. Who cares? It's a good character. Let it just be what it is.
Yeah. I mean,
Oh,
focusing
these
on the wrong
people.
things. Um,
I do
no, I
want to
was
give
gonna,
a
yes,
shout
you go.
out also to one more person who I love the quirky nature of Fallout, and seeing Chris Parnell show up as a Cyclops overseer,
Yeah.
I thought
Oh
was
yeah.
hilarious, and I
Remember the best
love
part where it's like, you're sentenced to banishment with
banishment.
only 2 weeks worth of food. And then you're on your own. And then like
And
the sword
it's
That
like
was
cutting
so
through
who
them.
funny.
wants to make a deal or whatever. Like I was like, oh, this is great. This is beautiful. I love
Oh
the
God.
stupidity at times.
And then
No, we
when
also,
Maximus charges in, I was like, that really cemented things for me with him.
yeah.
And then he knocks over all the supplies, and I was like, no, not the supplies.
No, but then also the all the old, like, what is it, music that's playing throughout every episode. I mean, just the soundtrack was
Music is
wonderful.
incredible. Yeah.
Yeah, it made me like really like feel like I was playing the game again. Just
Well, a lot
that
of it was
mood
from the
they
game too.
exact yeah, it was just
And
so
it's crazy
clever.
to remember that, like, I mean, not that any of us would like literally remember, but like that the fact that these are real songs, a lot of
Yeah.
them from that actual time, like people were legit thinking
These
about
are
this
like
stuff. This was
very
very
popular.
much,
Yeah.
they
Mhm.
lived in interesting times, as do we. And it's like pretty chilling to remember that like people were like, oh yeah, I made this album that was like songs in the age of the nuclear apocalypse. And it's all about like what
Hmm.
would happen if we all lived in fallout shelters. And it's like,
Yeah.
that's crazy.
Yeah. It's weirder. It like the contrast is even weirder. Yeah, when you realize like, oh, these beautiful like old timey songs. Yeah, nuclear war was a potential that people were just waking up to. Um, by the way, again, I'm gonna just keep doing the shout out. Michael Emerson, who is Ben Linus from Lost, who was only in it for like 2 episodes until his head gets cut off. But then we also get Dog Meat from because of him, who's like one
Yes.
of my favorite characters from the Fallout series. I want like
MVP.
A
yeah,
good companion by
great
far.
companion. We get Dale Dickey, who plays like the crazy shop owner.
Hmm.
She's always plays a white trash woman, but she's like every time she pops up, I'm like, it's a good episode of whatever TV show I'm watching, whatever movie I'm watching. She just improves everything she's in. But that's like what they were playing with in this show, is what I'm getting at. So, can I give my criticism though of what
Yeah,
really
go
annoyed
ahead.
me about this?
Mhm.
And I don't know if this is fair because we haven't seen season 2 yet. But one of the things that I love about modern trends is something like Fargo. So Fargo, every season is self-contained and it ends, and then the next season happens, and it still feels a part of the universe, but like we have different characters. And I was like, they had the perfect chance to do that here because each Fallout game has been its own separate thing with different characters set, that reveal new towns, new stories. They could have just wrapped this one up, and the next season, hell, they could even cast the same actors as different characters, whatever, like they do in American Horror Story. And I feel like they kind of missed an opportunity to like what made this so special. I'm worried that next season it's going to be good, but it's not going to capture that same lightning in a bottle because it's like instead of doing that self-contained season, they kind of are now doing a story that's going to keep getting like cliffhangery and drawn out. Like, how many
I
seasons are they going to get? Like, it just kind
Mm.
of, I feel like a missed opportunity.
I don't know. I'm going to disagree because I'm really invested now in Vault 31 and what's going on down there. I'm really interested on who Lucy's father is going to meet. I really want to know what happened to Walt Goggins' family. I mean, that's a common Fallout storyline. Is where where's
Where's
my
my
dad?
dad? Where's
Where's
my
my
brother? Where's my
son?
son? Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm really invested. I'm not too invested in Maximus's storyline from here on out, though. So I wouldn't mind. I know Emilia. I know you said he was probably your favorite character, but at the end there, I felt like, yeah, he even still knowing the whole like, oh, he was just dropped in there and didn't read all the dialogue choices, just kept hitting skip,
But
skip,
now he's
skip.
the leader of the Brotherhood of Steel, right? Isn't that kind of what
Or
I
happened
a
at
think
the end?
there's a lot of
co-leader.
potential from where to go from here, and I think that's what I'm also really appreciating about his character.
I'm sorry.
I hope you're
I
all are
don't see
right
it,
that season 2 will
but
be like make all this work, but that was my concern that like they instead of like doing a perfect like we could have gotten all the stories like all this stuff could have been wrapped up in season
mhm.
1 and then we have new characters we get to meet in a new location next season. That's my criticism and I stick by it. But until maybe next season's even better, then I'll shut my mouth. Like Boys, season 2, 3, 4, they keep nailing it. So I could be wrong, but I'm going to say that's my expectation. To
I think you're not wrong in that we don't need to always have these characters. Like it could be a 1, 2, or 3 season arc, and then move on to another group and just go that way. I could sign on to that, no problem, and that would be interesting to me. Keep it fresh.
Yeah, I mean, I hear the it's not exactly a criticism, I suppose, but I feel like there was a lot of potential for it to have been an anthology, and I think that maybe if you had asked me how do you think they should do this series at the start, I might have been like, yeah, an anthology would be a good idea because of like there's so many different vaults that you can play around with. There's like so much worlds. But having seen this, I'm like, you know, I I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful about this being at least I'll say like 3 seasons of good TV,
Yeah.
and then after that, I'm not sure what could happen, but I'm gonna hold out for like three good seasons.
So one of the things that bothers me, and this is across the Fallout universe. This isn't just because of this series. We know for a fact that if all crazy nuclear war actually happened, that the radiation levels of Earth would not be this crazy for 200 years. Is that what they said the date was? 200
it was
years
like
later?
250 years or something at this point.
Over
Yeah,
200 years,
that's
vaguely.
that's not how that would work. And we know this because real life things happened in Japan and people can live there now. So,
Well, Chernobyl's still kind of a mess.
but that's different though.
Yeah. Depends on what kind of bombs they dropped. Anyway, we
In this world, maybe they had
dirty
really,
bombs that they
really,
intentionally.
really, yeah. Because this is clearly not in a perfect one-to-one of our society. Because they
No, but
had, yeah.
the idea of a nuclear warhead though is to maximize the explosion. And in nuclear fission, or yeah, fission, you don't want to you want to control the energy, and that's why Chernobyl was so dangerous, because they had all these layers of things to try and keep it from exploding out, so it kept local-ish, and it was underground too, which is even worse. So that's why Chernobyl, I don't think you're gonna be able to live there for 1,000 years, some
Oh.
more.
Well, I was gonna say the thing is though, you could create nuclear bombs that are intentionally made to like just
And
spread
that would make sense
radiation.
with the premise too, because they were like, the weapon is time.
Yeah.
Make the place unlivable for 100 years,
And you're right though,
200
Norm. Like
years.
that's not how we've been designing nuclear warheads. In
I,
fact, I was hearing creepy things. The idea of where they were like the next stage of nuclear warheads would be like small enough to not even cause too much damage, kill all the biological organisms, but then have it go away quick enough that like you can move in and occupy the city. Like
yeah.
so, Anyway, it just depends on what your goals are in war. I
Small
guess.
yield, high output. That's the
Yeah,
idea.
yeah.
Mhm.
I
So
know too much about this.
well, it's kind of like fun from a scientific way to look into. I mean, nuclear war is kind of fascinating, but disturbing and creepy. But
Yeah, it's like if you weren't sure if these weapons should exist at all, I feel like
That's a different story.
they shouldn't. They shouldn't,
No.
very obviously.
yeah,
Well, I mean, obviously, I mean, I always subscribe to the whole, the person who thought of the idea of the spears should have been smacked.
that's when we should have stopped them. Yeah, because then we
Exactly.
wouldn't have civilization, Norm.
What about
Ah,
spears for hunting like fish?
You just use
that's
your
what a
hands.
rod and reel are for. That's a hook. Just toss it in
Or
there.
like pigs?
I think we all should go back and watch 2001: A Space Odyssey
Or
just to
maybe we
respect
shouldn't even be
where we
eating
came from.
pigs, honestly. Like they're pretty
They're
intelligent. Like we
very smart and have so much personality.
Hey, we say we shouldn't eat dolphin because of that, so why not stop eating pig
we're
because of that?
yeah, our moral standards are very uneven when it comes to
I'm all for
consumption.
lab grown meat. Fetterman get lost. I'm all for lab grown meat. So anyway, and DeSantis, they both can suck it. Anyway,
Look, as long as it's tasty, I'll eat it. Yeah, that's where I
I mean,
go.
I'm all for humanely raising
Oh
livestock,
yeah,
but then also in the meantime and hunting for sustenance. But then at the end of the day, if you're gonna go get a burger from McDonald's, grow that stuff in a lab. Come on. You think that
You
average
can, yeah.
person cares? Yeah,
It would
grow it in a
it
lab.
would taste the same or better. Like, let's
Wouldn't
be
even know
real.
any different. Yeah, you
I
wouldn't
think it
know
would
the
just
difference.
taste the same, because I don't think there's that much taste there.
Exactly. Anyway, okay. Yeah. Any other theories for season 2? We did hear that it was going to be New Vegas, which I'm so excited. Again, I'm kind of full of it. Those are my critiques of this season, but I'm like, oh my god, next season's New Vegas. I'm like, I can't wait to see these characters in New Vegas. So I was kind of being contrary on purpose, but yeah, I'm super excited for season 2. And I think they're going to start getting into some of the storylines and even settings that is some of my favorite stuff in Fallout.
I think we're going to see some more political. I think going forward, we're going to see a bigger political aspect to this that they're setting up right now, but haven't quite delved into yet. But that's
Mhm.
coming. That's coming.
Is this like an Amazon thing? I mean, I know I only have 2 examples with the show and the boys, but
No,
I think it's kind of interesting.
if you ever caught Upload, which is a great series,
No, I need to watch it.
it's a little campy in a way,
Michael
but
Shore, right? Who did The Office and
I
The
think so.
Good
Yeah,
Place, among
The Good
others.
Place.
Yeah.
yeah.
Michael Shore.
So there's definitely a tinge of, hey, this should have some political aspects to it, and
Hmm.
it works.
Yeah, it is interesting given that it's Amazon.
Yeah, who's like the evil empire. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Bezos bucks.
But this is about theories for season 2, not conspiracy theories.
No,
You
but
can
I'm
go
still
there.
saying, I'm still saying that this is going to have a bigger political spin.
The question is, do you think they're going to still go back in time? So, like, they kept doing those
Yes.
flashbacks to before. So, yeah, you think that'll stay
Yes.
consistent into next season?
That's
Okay.
Yeah, that's going to be a thing that continues.
Okay. I'm not
Yeah,
going to
we need
argue.
to find
They're
out what
probably-
happens to Goggins' daughter.
Mm-hmm. And I think there's going to be more about the overarching person of Vault Tech and
Mhm.
what goes on there, and there's going to be a whole storyline there. Plus, we're going to
Yeah.
have to find out what happened with the ghoul and Moldiver, and the ghoul and his wife. So there's a lot of storyline from the past that needs to get tied up. So we're definitely getting more of that.
I feel like there's also more to talk about with like the Vault Tech head honchos, and then
Mhm.
as you're saying with the political spin, the political heads that are in power at that time. I could
Yeah.
easily see, they could bring in global leaders to. I just there's a lot of potential.
Totally.
So Norm, what storylines from Fallout 4 do you think they would actually mine for uh, the next season, for season 2?
Ooh, that's a good one. Well, one of the best things about Fallout 4 was the Institute versus the Brotherhood versus, the neighborhood, all these different factions, and having to choose. I would think that would probably be a really
Whoa.
good.
What's going on, man?
Great Caesar's ghost. What now?
I got bad news, everyone. Our radiation detector just spiked through the roof.
How is that possible? Are the shields down?
Hmm.
Negative.
So refreshing.
Let me just check the internal scanners real quick. Oh my god, the radiation is coming from inside the ship.
You guys are stressing too much. I personally was parched from all of that Fallout discussion, and I think you could all use frothy, ice cold, refreshing Nuka Cola. What?
Emilia? Where'd you get that?
This?
Yeah.
It was in the hangar bay. I think one of the drones brought it up from the surface.
Hey, you realize that the planet is saturated with radiation, right?
Yeah. I mean, how else would I get that extra little spicy kick to the aftertaste? And if you mix it with a little Radaway chaser, now it's a party.
Oh, brother.
I mean, doesn't sound half bad. And heck, I'll try anything once. Send one over to my pod.
Ah, here we go again. All right, everyone back to their stations.
Okay, wait, I gotta reconfigure the shields real quick before we jump.
Wait, I'm coming too.
Okay. I'll handle the sign off. Stay tuned for more great discussions and interviews by catching us wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. Spotify, Google, Apple, Stitcher. We're on them all. Also, keep up to date on news and other important info by joining us on Instagram and Twitter at the Versecast. We also have a Discord channel that we'll post in those socials for everyone.
I'll add a link, an invite link that will never expire.
There we go.
And if you're curious about any one of us specifically, you can follow me, Emilia, at Emilia U on Twitter, but also at Emilia FU on Instagram, where I'm more likely to be doing things at this point.
Yes, you can follow me, Lucas Larker, at Luconian Logic on Threads and on Instagram and also on Twitter.
And you can follow me, Norm Felker, on Twitter at random_white guy. Finally, there's our producer, Stephen Pruzakowski, who I don't see him currently on board the ship. I hope he didn't go down to the surface.
If he did, he has 3 arms by now.
Oh boy. He can be found on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd as @FilmSnook. Also check out his other podcast, TV Topics, wherever you listen to ours. Up, and there's our music. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time in The Verse.
The Verse is produced by Stephen Pruzakowski.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Hold it, guys. What y'all doing with your radiation suits on?
Fashion show?
Ooh, that sounds fun. Wait a second. We just had a fashion show last week.
Fine, you got us. Look, Emily was talking about those vintage records, and it got me thinking. There's probably some authentic first edition Brognac the Barbarian comics laying around down there. Why not?
I mean, look, we need some new music on the ship anyway. There's only so many times we can listen to the Star Wars Cantina.
It's been a long week, and I could really go for blasting some rad roaches. So, all right, where's the railgun?